Hey guys, I'm Russ Snyders. I'm here today with Bass University to talk a little bit about forward-facing sonar, LiveScope, just the new advancements in technology when it comes to electronics and how that's transitioned into the kayak world. Forward-facing sonar, and that technology has been out for over 10 years now, and bass boaters have been utilizing it, and now it's really changed the way of fishing, especially in the bass boat world. But as these last few years have progressed, it's really made its evolvement into the kayak space as well. I'm going to go over a few of the things on how a lot of that transfers over as far as the techniques and styles from the bass boat world to the kayak world, and in some ways how fishing forward-facing sonar out of a kayak can be quite a bit different. So with the evolvement of forward-facing sonar and how that relates to kayaks, the main thing it's changed is kayaks have now gone from one graph to using two graphs. It's very hard to utilize LiveScope with just one graph because, you know, not only do you need that graph solely for forward-facing sonar, but you also want to see where your mapping is, or in some cases see what's below you. But especially with the mapping, because, you know, with forward-facing sonar, you're fishing offshore more times than not, and having a detailed topo map that'll show you those ledges and those humps and all that different topography of the structure down there is a really important tool to utilize with LiveScope. So there's been a number of different ways to do that on a kayak. There's been a lot of brackets developed that will go over the front of your kayak, in which you can mount, you know, two fish finders side by side. I use a 10-inch Humminbird Helix with a 9-inch Garmin. I'm using the Garmin for the LiveScope. I'm using the Humminbird for the mapping, or if I need any side imaging, down imaging, any of that stuff, I could scroll through, put it on a split screen. But as long as you have two screens, you're good to go for LiveScope. And whenever I'm using LiveScope forward-facing sonar, you know, I like to have one graph dedicated just for that. So with the two graphs being used, you know, you got to have a lot of battery power to do that. I use a Dakota Lithium 54 amp hour battery to power all that stuff, and it'll last all day with both those graphs. You know, one difference I should point out as far as how forward-facing sonar is used on a bass boat as opposed to the kayak is the mounting of the transducer. On a bass boat, more times than not, it's going to be on the head of the trolling motor. So as you turn heel to toe with that trolling motor, it's going to scan and point that LiveScope whatever direction the trolling motor is pointing. And some kayaks do have bow mount motors. I use a motor mounted on a stern. I use my 1103 Torpedo with the foot steering, so I don't have a motor up front to mount my transducer on. What I use, you know, for demonstrational purposes, we're doing this. I don't have my, you know, full setup with the two graphs and all that hooked up right now since I just picked up these kayaks. But the one thing I really wanted to demonstrate is the bracket here that's used for LiveScope. And, you know, it just mounts to this side rail right here. This thing's shaped like a cone, and it slides right in the unit right there. And with this handle, you're turning this arm side to side, and this transducer, whatever way that this handle's facing, is the way that it's looking out.